Alaska's Real Estate Podcast with Lottie Michael, and I'm Connie Yoshimura. Today, we're going to have a discussion about who we are and why we decided to do this podcast on a regular basis. So, Lottie, I want to start with you. All right. How long have you been in Alaska?
I've been in Alaska pretty much all of my life. So I've been here since the early 50s. I grew up downtown Anchorage at 6th and K and went all through school here in Anchorage.
You must have started when you were a child.
Yes. Actually, I was the youngest person to ever get a real estate license at the time. I'm not sure if someone's beat me, but you had to be 19, and I was 19 and 2 months. So I'm not sure if anyone beat me for that yet.
Well, congratulations. Why did you start in real estate?
Well, the short answer is I was 19 with a baby and I needed money.
Okay.
And I knew real estate. My mother was in real estate. I knew real estate. And I've always been very good at sales. Turns out I'm very good at mathematics and analyzing investments. And, 52 or 53 years later, time has proven that to be true.
So have you always been in Alaska?
I started my practice, like I said, in the early 70s, 72. And in the early 80s, I packed up my two teenage sons, and we moved to California. I wanted to try a new market where no one knew who I was and see what happens. So for the next 10 or 12 years, I was with Grubbinellas and then Encore International in the San Francisco Bay Area. When I got there, I was the first CCIM in Sonoma County. So Grubbinellas was quick to offer me a position, and I stayed there until Encore International came to me and asked that I, together with the other 3 top producers, there were 4 of us, open up the first Encore International office in Sonoma County. So that's what we did then.
And then you came back.
Then I came back. My mother was a very strong woman. She was very involved in commercial real estate, developing, owning, managing, and she was getting a little tired and asked if I would come back and work with her for a period of time, and so I did.
So I think it's sort of interesting when I look at the commercial real estate market. Is that how most real estate brokers go into commercial, is because it's sort of a family and
You see a lot.
parents own property and then their adult children go into managing it and selling it. And that seems to be how the commercial market works, which is a little bit different than the market I come from, which is residential.
Yeah. People find themselves in commercial real estate through several different avenues. A lot of people start in residential and then just kind of morph into commercial. Some people come out once licensed and make an effort to be educated and get ready to enter commercial strictly. And then there's people like me that did both for a period of time and decided to be really good at one thing. I needed to do one thing and do it well. And that's when I started taking classes and availed myself of all the opportunities for commercial and tooled myself up and jumped in with both feet.
I have to confess that I took the CCIM courses and I really didn't like them all that much. I got to the point where I had to do my report, right, or my project, and I never completed it. But what I did do, because I love residential, what I did do is I took what I learned in CCIM and turned it into a residential development. So that was really a good background for me. But I really like the residential, and that's what you've told me. You have to do what you love. Right, real estate.
A lot of people ask me how to get started, how to do it, make a career of real estate. And my pat answer is always, as soon as you treat it as if it were a career, then it ceases being a job and it is a career. But that means, and I've mentored my nephew and several people, if you're not the first guy in the office and the last guy out of the office, I'm wasting my time. I raised 2 children by myself, and I was the first guy in the office and the last guy out of the office, and everything turned out.
Do you still believe that? Because COVID changed it.
Oh, absolutely, I believe it. Absolutely. And you look at offices where people are working from home, billable hours are not what they used to be. The amount of work getting done is not what it used to be. So, yeah, I believe that you need to be in the office to get some work done. Now, I'm not saying every day, all day, but this is where work is conducted in the office.
Do you think that's more for commercial than it is for residential because you're dealing probably with higher dollar amounts or volume, a more serious? Well, I shouldn't say it's a more serious type of investment because home ownership is a very serious investment.
It's often the largest investment people will make.
Right.
Warren Buffett has been my hero since I discovered him 30 years ago. Now, he will go to the office, and I think he was the richest man in the U.S. He might be down to 2 or 3 now, but he's my hero. And he'll go to the office every day. He might go in torn up pajama pants. He doesn't really care what he looks like, but he's in the office every day. He doesn't need to be in the office, but when he wants to read volumes of reports, financial reports, he does that work in his office. So I think a little girl from Anchorage, Alaska doesn't need to reinvent that wheel. We can look at who do you have respect for? How do they conduct their professional life? And I want to emulate that. So I need to be in the office. It maybe not everyone does, but studies now show people are going back to the office. Might not be 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, but it's primarily in the office. So the office market hasn't gone away. It's adjusting and making changes since COVID, but it's still a vibrant market.
Well, I want to thank you for inviting me to the annual shareholders meeting. I've been twice now. I know that you are a very successful shareholder from investing for years and years, and I will always appreciate seeing Warren Buffett, particularly on this last one when he announced that he was going to retire at the end of the year.
But he's 98. We still have legs.
Yes, we
still have years. So, but he's as sharp as a tack. And I attribute all of that to, he's still curious about financial statements. I'm still curious about real estate. I still have a lot of things I need to get done. I'm far too young to ever think about retiring. And I don't think Warren Buffett is thinking about retiring. I think he's thinking about getting on to the next step. But back to where the work is being done. I think work is being done in the offices.
Well, I appreciate that. I just have to say I appreciate that he always had a Diet Coke in front of him, and then he had See's candy. And I think what's very interesting, I'm not an investor from the fact of I don't do equities and that sort of thing. I'm a residential land developer. If I make a little bit of money in residential land development, do you know what I do? I go buy water and sewer bonds in various communities, because I know what that is. And I know we will always have water and sewer in various communities. I do airport bonds a little bit and all that sort of thing because I'm scared to do anything else because my risk is always in residential land development. But what I thought was very interesting as I've learned more about Berkshire Hathaway, they have Brooks running shoes, right? They buy not just Bank of America stock and all of those other types of investments like that, but they invest in cultural and social things as well. If it's a well-run company like See's Candy, like Brooks Running Shoes, and a wide variety of others, smaller companies, I find that fascinating that there's that combination of investment strategies and then just investing in,
well, it's like commercial real estate.
Okay, and I'll saying that.
Okay, commercial real estate, what you just said about Mr. Buffett, he buys the business. So he buys the bones of something.
Okay.
So in commercial real estate, you really buy that stream of income. That stream of income, and I'm not talking about properties purchased for your business, not a manufacturing plant or retail buildings so you can put your retail business in. I'm talking about just straight investment. You buy that property based on a stream of income. So there's a value on that stream of income. There's a value on the bones of that property. So that stream of income is solid, but maybe the building is 50 years old, or which isn't old in anywhere else, but in Anchorage, Alaska, that's aging. Or maybe that building needs a new roof. So you buy the bones, so you value that stream of income, but you have to marry it with the bones. How long is that building going to be there? And it might be there another 100 years, but it's going to cost $100,000 next year for this new roof, and it's going to cost $50,000 in 2 years for a new HVAC system. So when you're valuing the real estate, just like Mr. Buffett looks at the income numbers when he's buying businesses, you look at that stream of income, put a value on that, and that's based on the length of the leases and the quality of the tenant and where market is. I mean, if you're getting $1 a foot and market is 75 cents a foot, you haven't cut a fat hog. You just are the latest fool. So you marry that with market rates because that lease isn't going to last forever. So you have all of these different layers, and then you put them together to develop a valuation that makes sense for you in your portfolio.
So you have a story that I would like you to tell about the history of a building out in Wasilla, Alaska. And it's a fascinating story, and it goes right along with your career. So I'd like you to share that with us, please.
Okay, thank you. I have a lot of stories. But this particular story, I wasn't involved when Walmart entered the Alaska market. But they entered the Alaska market, identified a piece of property in Wasilla, beautiful corner, and they immediately started constructing their building, 105,000 square feet of Walmart. Minutes after they were open, immediately after they opened, they realized it was too small. So they acquired and again, I'm not yet involved with it. They acquired the property across the street and built a building 20% larger. And when that was done and they moved out, then enters Lottie. Walmart calls me, market the building to Sears. And Sears was doing just fine. And then Sears changed up how their business model. They went from kind of a cost-restricted retailer, or off-price retailer, if you will, to they wanted to compete with Nordstrom. So they changed their business model. In doing so, they lost a lot of their core customers. And then we all know what happened to Sears. All across the country, they started closing. This was a victim of that. So every couple of years, I would call Sears because it just didn't look like they were doing well. And they kept assuring me they're just fine. And then one call, they said, yeah, well, we're ready to sell. Or we're ready to lease. They wanted to keep the building. So it was problematic for a couple of different reasons. It's not really relevant to find a tenant. We kept finding tenants, national retailers that wanted to be in that corner, but for one reason or another, that didn't work. And I had weekly meetings with Sears and finally said, I'm wasting my time because every national retailer is going to demand the same stuff, the same conditions, and you guys aren't prepared to do that. So you either sit on an empty building or you sell it. I can sell the building, but I keep bringing tenants and we keep either like disposable. And finally they agreed. So I called the largest furniture retailer in the state of Alaska, and he bought the building. And what he's planning on doing and is in the process of doing, he'll be open. We're almost September 1 now. He'll be open by permanent fund dividend check. So he'll be open by mid-October. But for the last year, maybe 18 months, he's been remodeling that building. And it'll have all of these different retailers out front. So you'll have Ashley Home Furniture and Mattress Firm and Williams & Kay, and all of his retail outlets will be out in front. And in the back end, it'll be state-of-the-art furniture warehousing. So and he's been remodeling the inside, updating the exterior. It's just a phenomenal project for him, and I think it's a big asset to the valley. You know better than I how many rooftops are being added to the residential market in the Palmer-Wasilla area.
More than in Anchorage.
Yeah.
And your client is from Anchorage.
Yeah.
And he sees the number of rooftops that are being built.
Right.
More than twice the number.
Right. So he's filling a very much needed niche in the valley. People won't have to drive to Anchorage if they don't want to. So I'm very hopeful that he's going to have another
huge success.
Yeah.
All right. So let's back up for a minute. How many years did you work to get to that point of selling that building?
Well, see, that's what I tell people. Maybe I was on that project. The first time I sold it for Walmart was 95.
Okay.
But I wouldn't have been there in 95 if I didn't do my homework in 90, and if I didn't make contacts in 1980. So it's not what I did today, it's what got me equipped to do today. And what got me ready for today is being the first guy in the office, the last guy out of the office, reading and educating myself on everything I could get my hands on, both locally and nationally. And, investing, that's a word Mr. Buffett uses all the time, investing in myself. So how long did it take? If you asked me on a project today, I would say it took 53 years because I've been doing this 53 years. But on that project, I was physically on that project for 20 years.
So what's the next 20 years like?
Oh, wow. I'm excited about the next 20 years. Yeah, I am. I'm building up a lot of steam. So I'm very bullish on the Alaska market. We are strategically located on the globe, which only helps the commercial market. And what helps the commercial market filters down to residential. So we can see what's going up on the slope. We can see what's going on in the inlet. We can see all of these, and mining. We can see all of that happening. So we're going to need everything here. Alaska, we're going to need pipes. We're going to need electricians. We're going to need miners. So, and all of that's happening, and some of it we don't see. And sometimes we've had a bad day and say, oh, the market's gone to poop. The market hasn't gone to poop. There's all this stuff underground. And if we look at who's investing in Alaska, I mean, it's very promising. I'm very optimistic about the next 5 to 10 years.
So do you believe that you can see Russia for the Aleutian Islands, like Sarah Palin said?
Well, I don't want to get into politics because we might not have the same politics. Right. But, it's close. Putin and I have an agreement. He stays on his side of the water and I stay on my side.
All right.
Well, so far he's lived up to that and I have to.
All right. So I think on that note, we will end. And this has been a really great opportunity to have you share. And we're going to do this in the future. We're going to have this podcast weekly, and we're going to talk about a wide variety of things.
Great.
Thank
you. Look forward to it.
Thank you.